Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Max Frequency Podcast. I am your host, Max Roberts, and I have the distinct honor and privilege of being joined this time by none other than Danny Boyd, CinemaStix. Hello, Danny. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm very good.
I was telling you before the show, thank you, because I don't even know if you saw this, but I originally tried to reach out to you, and the only way that I could find to communicate with you was Instagram. And I haven't used Instagram in years. So I sent you a message on there, but then you started a newsletter. And I got the newsletter. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I can respond to the newsletter and give it a shot. And you responded. So thank you.
I'm so glad. I think it's a little odd that you can respond to the newsletter. Like, it's literally just from my email address. And so you can respond, and it's just directly emailing me, which I don't know. It doesn't seem like that's what a newsletter should do, but clearly in this case it was a good thing. And I'm sorry if I didn't respond to your Instagram.
Oh,
DM.
You're totally fine. I just throw things out there, and if they come back, they come back. That's the idea when I do these sorts of things. For those who may not be aware, Danny, you do video essays on film and sometimes television over on YouTube. I came across your work a few months ago. I actually saw your Batman video a while ago and didn't make the connection until I was going through everything. Your animated movie, the Phantasm. But your Born Identity video, the algorithm dogged me to watch it, and it was good. A very good thing, because I found all these videos, and really you reminded me of what I was missing when Every Frame a Painting left and stopped making videos. I feel like you are the reincarnate of those two over on Every Frame a Painting. So this has been like a huge treat just to like have this back catalog of videos and essays to go watch. So I definitely recommend everyone go watch all of those. But up here at the top, I was just kind of curious, what was the last movie you watched?
The last movie I watched, I guess Tuesday. I go to a movie every Tuesday with a friend. I'm really bad at seeing new films. He texts me every week. He's like, "You want to see this? I'll get tickets." I say yes. I don't even like pay attention to what the movie is. If I don't know it, I don't look it up. Anything, I just go.
Okay.
In this case, it was it was Mission Impossible 8, Final Reckoning.
A little
was
indie
aware
film.
of it. Yeah. I did make a point not to watch any trailers. You know, I didn't want to know what the big stunt was. But yes, we went to see Mission Impossible 8.
I did the same thing. Of like, I know I'm going to enjoy Tom Cruise doing dangerous, life-threatening stunts. Like, I don't need to see the movie trailers ruin it all.
And the last one, 7, Dead Reckoning, there was so much coverage of his big motorcycle stunt, and I watched it because it was on YouTube, and I was like, oh yeah, that's so cool. And you know, but then when it came in the movie, I was like, yeah, I know. So yeah, so I really wanted to go in blind. Yeah, I mean, it was, well, I don't want to give anything away because it's so new.
Right.
I am a big fan of the franchise. I've covered the first one on the channel. The first one being pretty different from the rest. It's more of a like Euro noir spy, you know, I don't know. Like it's really vibey. It's really,
oh yeah, it's if you watch it and 2 back to back, you'll get
oh yeah,
whiplash.
especially 2, right? Yeah, no, totally. It was like a totally experimental franchise until 4, 5, and then, you know, Christopher McQuarrie took over the rest of the films as opposed to one director per film for 4 or 5 films. And they started to become a bit more cohesive, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah,
I will say 5 Rogue Nation. That is one of my favorite movies.
I'm partial to Fallout. I think the whole final sequence there in Fallout is probably pound for pound one of my favorite. Just action, tension, build up, all of the things. What's not to love about nuclear bombs and helicopters?
Yeah, they could have stopped there, and I would have been absolutely fine. Fallout was a great, like just sort of culmination of what that franchise is good at.
Yeah, I think about that. The image of, why am I blanking his name? Superman, whoever was Superman.
Henry Cavill, yeah.
Yes, Henry. Reloading his arms in the bathroom fight. I think about that image far too much in my life.
Yeah,
he's so good in that movie.
I'm so glad that he got to keep his mustache for that. That the sacrifice was not made on that movie.
Yes.
It was made on the more.
I forgot they did that for Superman.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh gosh. Oh well. Oh well. I wanted to gauge, since here we go. This is what I'm thinking. So last year, Every Frame of Painting came back for a little limited run, and then they put out a short film that the two of them and a team made called The Second, which I liked it. And in that time, obviously, you had started. Well, CinemaStix has been around for a while in different carnations, which I want to talk to you about here in just a moment. But based off at least the timeline of things, you were in the groove. You're doing the thing you're doing now. And I'm curious and they were an inspiration for you, it seemed, in the newsletter that I was reading. So I was curious how you felt when you saw that they were going to come back for this limited run. Obviously, when I saw it, I was very, very excited. But for you, I'm curious, because you were a fan, but now you're also doing the same sort of thing. I don't know. How did it feel? What did you think about it?
Well, I did think about it. Yeah, I mean, when I saw that, I got very excited. I mean, they were hugely influential on me. And when I saw the announcement, I was like, oh boy, like, the algorithm has changed a lot. And my first thoughts went to how are they, like, what's going to happen for them? Like, when they come back into this space after, I don't know, like 8 years or something. Like, I hope that there's a huge group of people waiting for them, but there's also, YouTube, it's like dog years, there are like generations of viewers that happen very, very rapidly. And a lot of people who might be really into video essays who at least didn't get into them when Every Frame of Painting was coming out, even if they've discovered them, in their post-mortem years. And I made an announcement on my channel just saying, hey, I just got this news, this is happening. And like a lot of people didn't know and were finding out for the first time. And so I sort of waited anxiously for it to drop and, watch their views and stuff like that. This is where I'm probably going to get in trouble. I haven't watched them. I made a bit of a decision a couple years ago to sort of swear off watching video essays. I, learned everything that I knew going in from channels like them and from watching and rewatching and obsessing over how they do it, how they edit, how they write, how they narrate, and what types of things they cover. Every Frame of Painting specifically, and tons of other channels too. And you get to this point where, at least I do, it's like, I want to be able to talk about anything I want to talk about. And if I discover something really interesting, I want to be able to talk about it. And I watch things and I'm like, damn, that is so interesting. I wish I had made a video on that. Or now I can't make a video on that. And so I've sort of chosen to live in in ignorance of
Hmm.
what other people are covering, so that I can just make any decision I want to at any given time, and know that if I pick a topic that's already been covered, I won't know it's already been covered, and as a result, it 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 won't be influenced, because that's sort of my greatest fear is yeah, I mean, just not not being original, I guess. And this happened once. I made a video on Baby Driver once, and it did really really well. But then I discovered in comments, the first day it came out, from people being like, "This video already exists. Somebody else did it." And I found that video and I was like, "Damn, yeah, this is like the exact same topic with the exact same sources." Like, I know what article they used because that was the article that I read and thought was so fascinating, or this interview with the costume designer specifically in this case, and this one interview with the director that talked about the same stuff. And I didn't go watch that video because I was so afraid of, like, did I just make the exact same thing? So,
As someone, I told you this before we started recording, but I graduated in journalism, and when I write reviews about anything, I never read anyone else's coverage about said
mm-hmm.
thing until I'm done with my review. Like, I don't, especially in I guess in post, launch of reviews and things like post embargo, I never want to read what other people think about something out of that fear that, like, what they're saying, their words, their, like, strings are going to be, even if it's subconscious, bubble up through, and then suddenly it's not original in some way, or at least wholly me. I mean, you can pull influence from things. I mean, if two people who do film essays find an interview with a costume designer on the film Baby Driver interesting, the, like, logical conclusions on those probably end up all in the same place. So then it comes down to personal style, editing, how you present the information, which is always unique. But then I always, like you, I try to stay away from things that I watch or listen to. I don't listen to video game podcasts anymore
Mm.
because, in part, I don't have the time, but also I don't want their style, structure, ideas to, like, come off into what I do, bleed in. I want to make my own sort of thing and pull inspiration from other places outside of that niche.
That format, yeah. Oh, 100%.
Like, I'll pull an idea from a tech podcast, or maybe just an unrelated interview, or another or a YouTube video, like things that are different. But I don't want to pull from a video game podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, like, right, exactly. If I'm just smothering myself in video essays all the time, then what I'm learning about how to edit and how to do music and how to do sound effects and what kind of footage to use, it's being informed by other people in the same niche, and it begins to create homogeny in the format. And so, like you're saying, I mean, yeah, I mean, there are similarities between podcasts and video essays, but they are different formats. And a lot of my influence for a while, before I really started to kind of find my voice, was in, like, Radiolab and like just podcasts and radio shows like that, where they were doing really interesting things with edits and with sound, and I was like, oh, cool, like that's used in that space. Can it be used in this space? And I just like the comfort of knowing that if I'm only looking for inspiration in things that are not exactly what I'm doing, then I I don't know, I'll feel better. Like I'll feel like I'm hopefully breathing some new life into what I'm doing, and maybe I'll inspire other people, and other people will find things in what I do that is good for their video essays. But um I just, yeah, I want, so you really have to be distinct in any media to stand out. And I think the simplest way to do that is to have influences, but diversify them as much as you can.
Wholly agree. I wholly agree with that. I want to jump into what I've been internally calling the CinemaStix Timeline, which you roughly kind of etched out in this newsletter that you sent at the beginning of May. You're sending the newsletters, I think, like, so the June edition theoretically would be coming out soon, for your
Right.
next one.
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah.
And so in that letter, you closed it all out basically with this loose recap of what I wrote down as basically like starting, stopping, retrying, relaunching, rebooting, doing all the things to try and make a channel work on YouTube and talk about film, all the way from going to the movie theater and taking notes and coming home and just talking to the camera about whatever it is you saw, to alternate channels, to a channel that you only name, but we don't. It sounded like a video game thing. Maybe we'll talk about that. But and then coming back to CinemaStix itself, which was a channel that you had at one point, and then it turned into the thing it is today. And that really resonated with me as someone who's been making and creating things online for almost 2 decades now, which is a horrific thing to say out loud. Ironically, completely unplanned, today, the day we're recording this, what is it, the 29th of May, is the 17th year I've done podcasting. And all I can think about when I say that is the wake of podcasts that I've left in my dust, of different things, of trying new things, launching things, trying new formats, and always trying to make it work in some way, and coming back and reinventing and things like that. And I don't know, this little journey that, little in the sense of it was only a few paragraphs, not that it wasn't a long span of time, but it really hit home with me that the way you talked about burnout, but encouragement from other people, and then finding your voice and launching it. And so I really wanted to, I guess, ask you about that journey in a little bit more detail and get the feels of it a little bit. So it's been 2019 is what I had written down for like when you were talking to a camera movie review style. And that, I think, kind of echoes back to what we were just talking about. That's kind of what everyone was doing on YouTube then. Like, oh, I just saw, gosh, what Avengers movie came out in 2019? I don't know. And then you're talking, you talk about it or what have you.
Yeah.
I don't even know quite how to phrase like the start of this question, but I guess why YouTube and why make videos? What compelled you, I guess, in the first place? Because I think that is the thing that is the constant through all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty bad with dates. When I wrote those paragraphs, I had to look all that stuff up of like when did I do that? Yeah, 2019 was when I started talking about movies. I think shortly before that, I made the decision of just generally, oh, YouTube, how interesting. I want to do that. And me and everybody else, right? I mean, there's a local school I went to in elementary school here, where I am in New York, and one of my old teachers' coworkers has recently asked me to come in and talk to the kids about YouTube because they all want to be YouTubers,
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be the type of YouTuber I am. I think they want to be influencers, and I don't know how much I can share about that, but to them, or give them good news. But I wanted to. I think they want. I think the adults in that situation want me to give a cautionary tale to them. Anyway, but I thought, gee, like I wanna work for myself. I wanna be independent and all that stuff, and maybe I can do this. I don't really know what kind of lit a fire under me, but it didn't start with movies. It started with video games.
Yeah.
Um, and it was just a simple, like, okay, I love this thing, and this is a medium to talk about it, and maybe one day make money, and maybe I can combine them. And so I think it was okay. It was, again, I'm bad with dates, but it was whenever Kingdom Hearts 3 was about to come out. That was when I decided I'm gonna review video games.
What a game! What a game to come in on. Gosh, what
Yeah.
a ride! Whoo! What a ride that
Well,
game.
I know. Well, that's what I thought. This is gonna be the biggest game of the decade. Like, this is the thing to do. And then it was just, I mean, whatever. I won't talk about
Oh
how
god,
I
yeah,
felt about it. But
that would take over the whole entire show. Let's
yeah.
like,
Yes, that was yeah, that was a wrench in it. But so during my sort of video game phase, which I don't know if you mentioned it. I think I mentioned it in those paragraphs. Something called penny voxel.
I
There was
was
a
I was curious if that
right.
was a gaming thing.
Yeah, originally it was. So I penny voxel. It was like I was really into stamps at the time, and there's like a very famous old stamp called the penny black, and I thought that was just a really cool sounding thing. And then I thought, okay, what's like a vaguely video gamey graphical word? Um, so anyway, I created penny voxel, and and the whole theme of the channel, like design wise, was like mail and stamps
I've
and stuff.
found it. I found it on
Oh
YouTube.
my
Yes,
god,
I see
really?
it now.
Oh god. Yeah, so uh um within that, I would not recommend watching anything on there, but within that I tried everything. I tried video game reviews, I tried let's plays, I tried comedy stuff, I tried like songs, I think I tried essentially essays, I tried news. I was just like, I want to talk about video games. And it was really quick before I basically got burned out. I mean, or realized like I'm completely ruining the fun of one of my favorite things in the world. Because the pressure that gets put on you trying to complete a video game, especially early on. I mean, eventually you'll get pre-release codes, and you'll have vaguely adequate time to complete something and write it up. I mean, not even really, but
I was gonna say, not really, not now.
yeah, not now. I know. It's God, yeah, the state of the industry, but certainly without even 3 days or one day or whatever. If you're unlucky, it comes out that day, everyone's playing it, and you're like, oh god, I'm gonna beat this game, and I'm gonna write about it and think about it and make a video about it. I mean, it's like impossible, and it takes all the fun out of playing games for me, because I'm a very slow burner when it comes to playing. And I was like, I can't do this. It's just completely ruining everything. And so I was like, but I still want to do YouTube. So what about movies? I can ruin movies for myself, like whatever. um, they're shorter, and there are more of them. So,
This is
um,
true.
so like, yeah, I got this, and I was like, I'm gonna review them. I'm gonna go to the movies. I'm gonna write things down. I'm gonna come home, as you said. I'm gonna come home. I'm gonna turn the camera on, and I'm gonna talk about it, and I can do that, in like an hour after seeing it day of, and see what happens. I don't remember what I reviewed some really random movies. I think I went to see like Hellboy 2019, and like Highwaymen, which was like some Netflix movie or something. I was just trying everything. But yeah, like you say, everyone's doing it, and you realize that really quick. There's this weird, I don't know how it is now. I'm sure it's the same. Almost toxic, like low rung community of movie reviewers on YouTube. A bunch of people who do it the exact same way, which is just, their opinions on camera, and who are so, in need of subs and views that they're all just doing sub for sub with each other. And like the only people who comment on, or who find and comment on your movie reviews, are other people reviewing those movies. And it's really useless because they subscribe, they expect you to subscribe, but then they never watch your stuff again because they're out there doing exactly what you're doing. They don't need to watch your movie review. So you don't grow. And there were a few channels that I kept track of throughout that process to see, like, are they growing? What are they doing that I could be doing? And they're basically two classic movie review channels on YouTube, and they've been around forever. And it's whatever, they've been around forever. You can't compete with them. You have to do something different if you want to review movies. And yeah, and it was around then that I discovered the video essay format, and via Nerdwriter at that point, and who is still basically the king. I forget I think by that point Every Frame of Painting had already retired, and I hadn't discovered them yet. So Nerdwriter for me was like, that was the answer, and that was what I obsessed over, and that's what I studied and decided I can do this. I think that seems fun. That seems like I can put my own kind of creative spin on things, and it looks way more interesting to make than the traditional movie review. So I started doing it.
I guess so. Was you reviewing that film craft channel that you talked about?
Let me kind of run through the timeline better than that, because that was like the conception of the idea, and that was CinemaStix. So there was Penny Voxel Gaming, and that became Penny Voxel Cinema, which I think was the movie reviews, or early movie reviews, and that quickly turned into CinemaStix. I think it's even possible that the physical CinemaStix channel that exists today was once Penny Voxel Cinema, and I changed the name. I can't remember if I started a new channel or not.
Who knows?
But I remember I was reviewing movies, and I was like, wait, CinemaStix, that's a good name. I'm taking credit for it. There are other people in my life who take credit for it. I don't know who came up with it. But the idea was that it sounded like CinemaStix, and which you only really realize when you say it out loud. And I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm going to review movies, and I'm going to have like the sweet and the bitter, as if that's what cinnamon is comprised of, which it's not really. That was my whole conceit. And so CinemaStix was born, and and then so I reviewed a few movies, and then I switched to video essays, and so CinemaStix went for a while in that form, and that was where I learned how it all works and what I want to do and how I want to do it, and I tried out a lot of stuff, and some of it was good and some of it wasn't. My first success was a video on Joker, when Joker first came out. And
Joker as in Joaquin Phoenix Joker?
Yes, although I can't remember if it was like really about the movie or if it was kind of about Batman sort of leading up to that film, because I think I managed to get that video out like right around when the movie came out, and luckily the movie was big, and it did. I mean, that video did okay. I mean, for a channel with like no subs. And so I had some successes and a lot of failures, and it was unpredictable. Like sometimes I get 700 views, which is not nothing, but then other times I was getting 10,000. It was like, well, I need to be getting 10,000 every time, because otherwise I just don't understand like who's watching, and I'm not seeing things grow or escalate. So I don't know it, because you're not making any money at that point. It really takes a lot of viewership to sustain you, and I had to make money in other ways, and it's a lot of time. And so during the pandemic, early on, I gave up. I wanted to start fresh, basically. I felt like the CinemaStix channel was so like old and had been through so many weird phases and trials and errors and stuff that I thought maybe it's just like algorithmically like confused. Like, I don't know, like maybe.
Sure.
And
yeah, especially if it was penny voxel gaming / movies at one point. Like, who knows what kind of craft is there?
Yeah, YouTube doesn't, and maybe that's not true, but I couldn't take a chance. I needed to like take what I knew, take what I'd learned, and apply it to something fresh. And so yeah, I started a channel called Filmcraft, separate channel. I completely ignored CinemaStix. I think I unlisted like everything on there, and I made a bunch of new videos, and I put them on Filmcraft. And I would say Filmcraft got to, it didn't, I actually think that CinemaStix had about 10,000 subs when I abandoned it. Filmcraft, I think, got to about half that in a much shorter period of time, because I knew a lot more at that point about how to do things. And again, I had some successes and mostly not. And yeah, that was, I guess, mid-pandemic or something, and I was just ready to stop. I mean, I had to, I had to move on with my life. Like, I had set goals and they weren't getting met, and that was going to be it. And then a really good friend of mine, Simon, a really good friend that I just somehow we've become really good friends. Like, we went to high school together, but he was a couple years younger than me. We didn't really know each other in high school, and we reconnected online later. And I think I've only like seen each other 2 or 3 times in person in the time that we've known each other. But he has been such an influence on my like direction and just motivation in this space, because he's such a fan of this space and he's so knowledgeable about the creators in it and how they work. And so he was just a complete, like, just total guiding angel all the way through, remotely, and still is. And so yeah, he basically said, look, okay, like, I get that you're ready to give up, but I really think you should go back to CinemaStix, see who's there, and just try one more time and see what happens. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it. Like, I don't know. And I deleted everything. I now had a really significant backlog, essentially, or runway, essentially, for a new channel, even though it was an old channel. But I was starting from scratch on it, because I had made all these videos on CinemaStix. I'd made all these videos on Filmcraft. I'd learned all these things about how I want to make videos, that I could, make those videos better and make new ones at the same time, and be able to put out content frequently and consistently as I begin again, which was really the key, because when you have a video come out that does well, you don't want to be floundering starting the next one in order to ride that wave. You need to already have that next one be coming out, and that's really hard to do when you are making one video at a time, and you work and have a family and all that stuff. So, but if you have a runway, it's a little bit easier.
That makes total sense and is super smart and is what everyone like in the businessy side of it talks about. Consistency is key. You have to be consistent in an upload schedule, style, things like that. I've started doing video essays on games last year. This is something I had always wanted to do and make, but never really did it. And then a friend of mine, Brian Hankin, he's been on the show, he talked about how he was starting this like super small Discord for other essayists, like just to collaborate, get advice, feedback, that type of environment. Super small, not a big open thing. I was like, well, I want to do this essay thing. I'm friends with Brian. Maybe he'll let me in there and that'll work. And I used that environment as like this encouraging factor to push and get an essay out. And last year I made 4 essays that did well. But one thing, I guess I had a CinemaStix Danny Boyd moment. A lot of talking. I was encouraged to shift those over to a new channel. And that's because my main YouTube channel or whatever has just been 10 plus years of random video gamey things. So the idea was a more consistent place where like the expectation can be set.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my problem is I don't have that. I haven't built up that runway like you're talking about. So I'm not ready for the next video. I've had quite a few of them do well for someone of my scale, which is, a few thousand views on a couple, and I'm like, all right, that's a win for me. But you're right that it does take, you got to be ready for the next thing so that something doesn't catch you off guard and you keep leaning into it. And you have to make, right? You have to just keep making the thing, and you kind of get better as you go. Someone today, ironically, I've heard this before, but quantity produces quality. And you made a lot of videos before, and then CinemaStix became what it was when you came back to it here in 22, 23, whenever that was, 22. And you were ready, so to speak. And I think the algorithm was ready too, to a degree. We can maybe talk about the algorithm a little bit, but it's vital, I guess, is what I'm saying. And what I hear, and I'm not speaking necessarily from experience, but it's something I see all the time. Another common thread would be people who are ready to give up, and then at the give up line is when the thing takes off. So maybe you get as close to giving up as you can, folks,
Absolutely.
And then you'll succeed.
Which does take time and quantity. You don't give up after one. You give up after you've done a lot and it's not working. But in that time, you haven't wasted it because you've learned so much. And you mentioned like these are some of the things that everyone tells you this is what you need to do, like consistency and all that stuff. All those basic principles that even YouTube on their help forums and stuff like that say, like, this is really important and these metrics are really important and all that stuff. Like, all that information is there and people are saying it, but it's really, really easy to not want to hear it because it sounds too obvious, I think, when you're starting out. It's like, oh, well, yeah, of course, consistency is key. Got it. Or like titles and thumbnails are really important. But they are. And I think that you only really, really realize the magnitude of that when you've experimented for yourself. Mm-hmm. And the biggest piece of advice I give people when they say they want to start and want to know, what's your one, piece of advice for starting, I tell them it is basically what I just said. It's to create runway for yourself. It's to make a ton of content, but don't release it. Just make it. I mean, you can go that route too, but make a ton of content. Get a bunch of stuff to like 80% complete. Discover what feels good, discover patterns in your work, discover stuff. You're going to discover stuff on the 10th video that you didn't even think of on the first, and you're going to wish that you had done that the whole time, because it becomes, I don't know, your signature thing or something. So you can get everything to 80% done, learn, see what you like, and then you've got a bunch of basically ready to go stuff, and you can go back and rework that early stuff and make it all more cohesive or whatever, and have the work done, and then put it out. And no one listens. I've had so many emails from people being like, so I didn't do that, and now my video's blowing up and I don't have another video ready. I'm like, that sucks. Yeah. So.
No, it's preparation to a degree. You're preparing for the thing that you always wanted, right? Like, I want this to succeed in some way. And that success varies by definition to people. It could be, this is my job. It could be 100,000 people watch this video. It could be, I reach X subscribers. It could be whatever. Success, whatever your definition of success is, and the goal of why you're doing the thing. And you have to in your mind almost act like you've already succeeded and prepare the way for that success, so when it shows up, you're like, here it is, I did it. And then you can keep going. And also, by then you've built the habit, the routine, the muscles, and you're not floundering to make the next thing. You're ready. And so when you reach that inevitable goal, whatever it might be, your momentum doesn't stop because you reached it. That's just like a byproduct of the work. Like, you have the habit to keep going. And so the making of the thing is what is pushing you, not the goal of reaching, 1,000 subscribers or what have you. 1,000 is nothing in the YouTube game, but it's interesting. Because I want to move on to your process, and you hit on the very first thing I wanted to talk about. But in your April newsletter, so 2 months ago, you wrote, I'm going to read the quote actually, because I think it's pretty good. And I think it hits on exactly what we were just talking about. You said, quote, "Competition in the film essay space and on YouTube at large is as fierce as ever. There are certainly algorithmic elements beyond my control. But there is also a lot that is within my power to be more engaged, to continue to develop my craft, to experiment with new ideas. There's no point standing idly by hoping things will get better." That's just great advice, Danny.
Yeah,
but I think,
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that hits home with what we were just saying is YouTube is, like you said, you went and talked to kids about who want to be YouTubers, right? Like, they care more about the play button. Actually, friends of the show, Corey Carlson of My Life in Gaming, his kids, he went over to their school at one point and talked about it because they have a play button, like their YouTube channel is so big enough to have a play button, whatever threshold those are. And the kids think that's the coolest thing in the world. Like, that's what they want. They don't want X amount of money or whatever. They want to be a YouTuber, like you said. But you can't just, like, throw things out there and hope the algorithm, that happens. People go viral. Like, that's how that term started. But you got to put in the work. And the work's hard.
Yeah. And going viral, you have to, like we're talking about, I mean, you have to take advantage of when you go viral. I mean, going viral once does not guarantee endless success for the rest of your life or career. Um, you have to build on that momentum and figure out why that happened and engage with all those people that have inevitably flocked to whatever it was that you created that went viral, to keep them, because otherwise they'll just move on to the next viral thing that wasn't yours. And it's a lot of work. And so there is a lot of stuff that you can do and have to do when the algorithm has done you a service, which I hesitate to say because the algorithm is not this phantom thing that that like scholars are scratching their heads over what it is. It is just people. The algorithm is people, it's viewers, it's people on YouTube. And as soon as you start thinking about it that way, and you start thinking about like the psychology of human beings and what they're seeing when you put stuff out, and what they want, which I also hesitate to say because that's sort of a double-edged sword too. But you start thinking about the algorithm as just as you, like other yous, like if you would watch your stuff, what would get you to click on it? And that's all it is. It's just a bunch of people out there who, YouTube will present you to them, and it is up to you to have created something and marketed something in such a way that makes what you've made, unignorable. YouTube is really good at giving chances. It doesn't feel that way sometimes, and the smaller you are, the fewer chances you're given, but you are given chances. When you put out a video, you get an artificial number of potential clicks, but YouTube can't make people click on your stuff. All YouTube can do is show your stuff to more people because people clicked on your stuff. So it's up to you to make it clickable, and that really is in your control. Even though it relies on other people, those other people are human beings, and you're a human being, so you just have to think like a human being. And
don't think like a computer. Think like a human.
It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. I mean, really though, it's a mental shift, I think, but it's really, really key.
I've never heard it quite put like that, and I love that. I love that way of thinking. It's you have me. So my most popular video on my channel, which is only 38,000 views, but it's a podcast that we did about the Fast and Furious films, and in particular Fast and Furious 7 or Furious 7 has 38,000 views, and the reason it has 38,000 views is because of people, mostly located in South America, who were trying to illegally watch the Furious 7 movie on YouTube. And I know that because of the analytics, and like the videos that recommended my video are all foreign mirrored versions of the movies that people were trying to watch. So it is just people out there trying to watch it. That is definitely what's going on. But that, I think, leads me into your process.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I'm most curious about, I gotta understand it, is your titles and your thumbnails. Because to me, they are not, they feel so opposite of what I feel like I'm told or seen, which is your titles are like sentences in a good way. I don't mean any of this. I have trouble processing it to a degree. Like your most popular video, When You Find a Way to Dance in Every Movie You're In. And then it's Sam Rockwell. Great video, by the way. Love that one, actually, a ton. Or When the Audience Doesn't Get the Joke. Or When the Filmmakers Get Stuck with an Unlikable Character. When the animators are given half the time and money that Disney gets. they're so long, it's all lowercase. Your thumbnails are usually a picture of a character, just a still from the movie, often not the person you're talking about in the movie. I think of your Gladiator videos, they're not even about that. I forget her name,
Yeah.
but the woman in the movie, but she's in both thumbnails. You got to talk me through the CinemaStix logic here, because it clearly works. Your born thumbnails are what got me, and I noticed that they kept changing in the beginning. There was
Yeah.
Marie was one. I think the title changed a few times. What's the CinemaStix secret sauce here?
Yeah, I will tiptoe around this a little bit because it is secret sauce, kind of. So early on in this iteration of CinemaStix, what got me success was experimenting heavily with titles, and again, thinking from day one, thinking about the potential viewer and what is going to light something up in their brain. And I think the very first video that I did this with was it was one of two. I can't remember which one came first. I had a video on the David Fincher film Mank, which I think I've recreated. So the original video, when it came out, is not listed on my. It's not in that order on my channel because I've removed the original video and redone it with higher quality footage, which is a whole other thing. But and then probably did this with this video too. There's a Star Wars video that around the same time that I was also experimenting with titles with. Those two videos, I think, were the conception of these funky, memey titles. Mank was the big one. Mank was the one that cracked the channel, I think. It was called. I think I've actually changed it with the new version of the video, but the original video and the original title was when a modern filmmaker makes a fake old movie. And it just worked. And it was I mean, it came out, I gave it a normal title, whatever, like how David Fincher made Mank, whatever, like some basic video essay title with a very pretty thumbnail, with text and graphic work and all that stuff. And no one watched it. And so I changed to just a still. I did that because of Every Frame of Painting. That's what they did. All their videos, thumbnails are just stills from the movie. And I was always really enamored by that because I thought, well, yeah, like, why shouldn't a shot from a film, which is a professionally made, professionally lit thing, not be interesting enough to capture attention? We love movies. We see an image from a film in another context that we're familiar with, and we go, "Oh, I love that movie." Like that should be enough, potentially. Plus, if you keep it simple, it's way easier to change them and experiment. But so anyway, I made that title for Mank, and that was inspired. We were talking earlier tonight about finding inspiration from other niches and other formats. And the idea came from, weird 30-second meme comedy videos, on YouTube, but from other niches, or just random ass viral videos on random topics that have nothing to do with movies and are absolutely not essays, and that have these like really casual, jokey titles. And I would just like be on my feed noticing these random videos that have, 1 million plus views, and I'd go to the channel and they would have like 500 subs, and I'd be like, what's going on? All their other videos have no views, but this one went viral. So something about it was interesting. And and after doing that a bit, I was like, well, yeah, they just have these titles that are really easy to click on. They have no pressure, basically. Video essays are a very intellectual thing, sometimes a very pseudo-intellectual thing. They ask a lot, I think, of the viewer. They ask you to turn your brain on a little bit and to focus. And that's kind of a big ask on YouTube, especially as time goes on and people don't have a lot of energy. I won't say time because you'll still watch like 18, 30-second videos or more. But I just wanted to take that pressure off. I wanted to, I believed that the content I made was worth watching and that if people clicked on it, that they would like it. But I wanted to really lower their expectations and just make it easy. Make it feel like I'm not asking anything of them. And they can click away if they're not interested. But I believe they will be. And so I applied that idea to the video essay. And for a long time, the when format was basically the simplest key. Like it was just sort of a consistent thing that seemed to work. And I had some variations in that.
Yeah, a lot of your videos do start with the word when. I didn't even notice
a lot,
that.
yeah. Well, you might not have, but a lot of other potential video essayists did notice, and this has been a thing basically.
Well, okay,
yeah.
let's talk about that really quick. I had this question later, but it just this feels a little bit natural here.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a lot of people copy you, which is so interesting because you try so hard not to copy other people in the film essayist space. But YouTube being what it is, and the fact that I've been researching you out the wazoo, especially since you agreed, like I've been preparing, right? YouTube thinks I only want to watch your videos and videos like you right now. And I'm just seeing, I see your thumbnail style being applied to Toy Story. There's a Toy Story one I keep seeing. Be recommended.
I have a master list on my phone of channels that have done it. It's long.
Does that feel okay? How does that feel? First of all, to be the one imitated, right? And then, how do you? I don't know. How do you cope with that? Feel with that? Is it one of those scenarios where imitation is the highest form of flattery here? Does it upset you? I don't know. What's the vibe?
It's complex. My emotions around it are really, really complex. When I started to have success, I immediately started to have fears that if this works enough and I get enough exposure, the thing that I'm doing is I'm being counter to what everyone else is doing. If this works better than what everyone else is doing and people start to do it because it works, then it's going to lose its novelty and it's going to lose its I'm going to lose my identity around it. Like it was for such a long time, you associated my channel with those titles. You saw that title, you knew it was me. And over time, my worst fears became reality. And it there's nothing I can do about it. I borrowed from another niche, I didn't invent the when title. But as soon as other people inside of the niche started to do it, I worried, well, it's a bit like why different companies can't have the same slogans or certainly the same logos, right? Because it confuses people, and you can use the success, you can leverage the success of somebody else's brand for your own gain, but they potentially lose out in you doing that. I mean, in the real world where stuff is trademarked and all that stuff, like right. That's not legal. but this is this is the Wild West. I mean, it's YouTube, and so, um, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. And it's great that people are getting to make these channels and make their videos and get, all these views. But it's no longer like an association with my brand because too many people are doing it. And so I've felt like to stand out, I can no longer do it, and B, my channel has just consistently decreased in in viewership over time. That happens to most channels, but you know I'm constantly in this position of, okay, I came up with this thing at some point that nobody else was doing and it worked. Now everyone else is doing it. I really need to come up with the next thing before it's too late. So it's hard.
That sounds stressful and daunting.
It is. It is. It's a constant, thing in my brain because it's my job and my livelihood. And a lot of these channels, I don't think it is, like maybe they want it to be, but they're making, some amount of money on the success that they're having, but I don't know that they're necessarily, their ambitions are to really do this full time. And yeah, and I don't know. And I don't watch video essays, right? So I don't click on their stuff. I don't know if they're really good or not,
Talk to me about the thumbnails, I guess, as much as you're willing to share the secret sauce here. Like, what I get a frame from the movie. That makes total sense to me, and you're right, it's simple. But like, why the
randomest things?
Yes, it feels so random. Like your Lord of the Rings video. It's not about Eowyn. What is this? You're
Yeah.
I guess as someone who watches your videos, I know. And so then that actually does drive my curiosity. So like, what is this really about? But to maybe a potential new viewer, or just from like you're just looking at a perspective, it's fascinating to me.
There is less calculation, I'll say, involved in the thumbnails than there are in the titles. I don't know. Like, I have intuition, and I've developed intuition, and I can basically pull a bunch of thumbnails, from my video or from the movie. Like, sure, maybe a thumbnail's of somebody who isn't the core focus of the video, but I still might have grabbed that thumbnail from the video itself. It was just some random, part of it. So I'll pull ones that I think might be good, and then I'll look through them and be like, okay, what do I think is the most clickable? But I'm not always right, and I don't always know. And sometimes, like, I did one on Office Space, and Jennifer Aniston's in that movie, and like everyone knows who she is. And I tried thumbnails with her, and no one clicked on it. And then I put one of the like funny side characters in the film, and it made a huge difference. And a similar thing with the American Psycho video, which is when the audience doesn't get the joke. It's my second highest performing video. Christian Bale was not cutting it. His secretary, for whatever reason.
Christian, we don't need you anymore.
Right? I mean, I think part of it, though, is that you put something too familiar and people see it and they're like, oh, I know what that is. Yeah. They form an understanding, a preconceived notion, and you want to not do that, basically. And so it really does feel a bit random. And I try a lot, and some just work better than others.
Yeah, I mean, it is fun. I encourage the listener to go to the YouTube channel, A, to watch the videos, B, go to just the video pane, and then just scroll through the thumbnails. It's actually really fun, like to see them all out and just look at the images you've selected. You get some good ones. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, this is a testament to what you were talking about. These are scenes from professionally shot films. They're meant to look good, like the shot of from Spider-Man 2, like with the glasses when the sequel surpasses the original. Oh my gosh, just talk. Like, you don't even have to do, obviously you don't, but like, you don't have to do anything with that. Just put the goggles there and you're set. Power of the sun in the palm of my hand, baby.
No.
So good. I'm curious. I'm curious about a lot of things. I guess that I think I've said that quite a bit actually tonight. The experimentation, the constant, not constant, but especially when a video comes out, I notice things change they're changing pretty quick. How on the ball do you have to be with that? Like, do you have things queued up? Are you A/B testing, or are you just like switch? Let's, like, what is that part? You put a video out. I think you got your King one coming out soon on YouTube. It's up on Nebula.
Yeah. That one just launched on Saturday on YouTube, I think. So Saturdays are my release days, and they come out at 9 a.m. Eastern time on a given Saturday. It's not every Saturday, but that day I am unavailable to anybody in the real world. Like, that is a unique type of work day. The video's done, it's up, the work has just started, and it's monitoring, it's responding to comments, it's watching those metrics like a hawk, just without stop. And going into that, I'll spend a bit of time before video comes out, after it's done, where I will brainstorm some potential title ideas or some title sort of directions that could then be like varied a little bit within each sort of concept of a title, and a bunch of thumbnails. And I will essentially queue them up in like the order that I think they might be effective. I definitely have more success. A video almost without fail does better when I've spent more time in that process coming up with what I really think might be the most successful combination. Because otherwise, if I don't put enough time in, I put out the video, I give it some title and thumbnail, and then I'm sort of floundering because, it's not hitting the numbers it should hit. I need to come up with something now. And I get stressed, and
the runway
it doesn't always work. Yeah, it's all about the runway, exactly, just on a micro scale. So there are a ton of metrics. YouTube gives you a ton of metrics, and most of them are in real time, and especially in the first day, you get a lot of really good real time data. And I know what I need to be hitting. I know what to look at. I know how to manipulate it, essentially, by thinking about people and thinking about what I can change and what I have control over, and seeing what effect it has, because it's almost instantaneous. You make a change on YouTube and you see that change within 5 minutes or less. And it's really nuts, and I totally rely on it.
That sounds remarkable. Both on the absolute scale of YouTube, right? Just the scale of the entire system is what I'm thinking of. But then the rapidity of the feedback. Is rapidity a word? I don't know. I think it has to be a word. But to get that kind of feedback, to make that sort of change, and then get feedback within a minute or 5 minutes or whatever it is, and be able to pivot to a sense that gets your video to the audience. That's super fascinating.
You have to develop a bit of a thick skin for it
Sure.
because you are making public changes, and I I am not afraid of that. I think a lot of I mean that took some time because you get a lot of comments then of like, oh, the title's changing, oh, stop, whatever. I mean, there's a huge spectrum of comment types around it, and it's unnerving. Like, you really feel like there are a lot of people who get it, there are a lot of people who don't care, there are a lot of people who don't notice, but then there are a lot of people who attack you for it, and it feels louder than it is.
The vocal minority,
At the end,
yeah.
right, exactly, the vocal minority, because at the end of I mean, first of all, their comments don't rise to the top, so it's not like that becomes the topic of discussion in the comments, and also, my like to dislike ratio average across the channel is, I think, 98.8 or something. Like, I I I'm not worried that people are more obsessed with all these title changes than with the content itself. People are not, like, as a general rule, people are not pissed off that I do this.
Right.
People like what I'm doing.
I'm like looking at all my notes. I'm trying to pick because I'm also looking at the clock. It's a delicate balance. The art of the
Well, don't worry
interview.
for me about time, but yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to.
No, I definitely have to talk to you about DMCA. This was like a core question in my pitch email to you. But before we get to that, because DMCA is so wild, I think, to a degree, I want to. You had this quote in that May newsletter that that a discussion and an analysis of art could, in its right, be art, like in itself. Basically, I think how my brain internalized it. And with film, I guess, like, obviously, first of all, Criterion's made an entire business out of it, right? Restoring film and then commenting on that film. Like, obviously, there is an art and a business to it, right? You have to come up with a way to, like, show other people's information in art, whether that's behind the scenes, an interview, or just the movie itself, which, as we've mentioned, is professionally shot, edited, acted, all of the things, right? But you have to present that information to the audience to share your essay, like your thesis, the thing you're trying to share with the audience, the thing you found interesting. And I guess I'm thinking of, like, how do you balance and between those two? Because in, like, a video game essay, I just show relevant gameplay. And now there are times where it's like a very specific moment, and so that's intentional, and I want that to be the emphasis. But sometimes I need a little bit of filler,
Mm-hmm.
And in a movie, I feel like I would think there's less flexibility there. Am I wrong in that? Is it when you're writing a script or you're editing the video? Does the idea of, like, what you want to show with the words that you're saying, is that a very natural part of the process, or is that, I don't know, how do you take, like, the work of Spielberg or Soderbergh or Fincher or whoever, and you're like, yes, now I will present, like, their art as my art. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah, and I've got a lot of answers, I think. I mean, for one, yes. Sometimes I watch, video game stuff, reviews, essays, whatever, and it's like, I'm satisfied just watching a bunch of B-roll of the game that, like, isn't specifically relevant to what's being said. Like, that's enough for me. But it is a little harder with movies. For one, m- movies in video essays don't look great if you're showing scenes of characters talking without showing them talking, or without playing the dialogue. It's a weird look for me to be talking and their lips being moving.
It's like a
So
really bad lip sync.
yeah, exactly. I think your brain just gets a little bit, or you want to hear what they're saying or whatever, or it isn't cinematic because in a scene where characters where there's no dialogue, usually scenes where characters' lips are not moving. Um, so you already, your movie is already smaller than 40 hours of game footage, and then so you have less to work with there. And then if you need your filler to be scenes where characters aren't talking, then you're even more limited. So I when I'm thinking about that pretty much as I'm writing the script. Like I I try I try not to write a sentence without some idea in my head about what is gonna be laid over that line of my voiceover. Um, it, because it can be hard when you get into the edit and I've said all this stuff and I need to put footage over it, and some random thing I said that doesn't directly connect to something, I don't know what to show there, and I have to find something, and like that's that's hard, or it takes time, or I don't know how long it will take, or whatever.
It's I, I'm sorry. In my head, I was thinking, man, it's like the Runway again. You're As you're writing the script in your head, you're also preparing the way for when you get in the edit bay, right? So when you're editing, that process is smoother because when you said that you gotta go find a clip, I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting there like, now I gotta go find a clip for this part. Prepare the way.
When I write a book on my journey, it'll be called The Runway. Um, yeah, exactly. Like, um, there's okay. So I get asked this question a lot, not usually from community people, but from business people or people who want to work for me, which is something I say no to because I like doing everything. But when somebody says, I want to edit for you, or somebody says, hey, you should have a team, it'll make your life easier. There's no way that what you're doing somebody else can't do. I I don't know because my process is hybrid. It's not linear. I oftentimes will um I'll record what I call a scratch recording of my script, and then I'll lay that down and I'll start playing with the footage at that phase, and then I'll rework the script based on the flow of certain dialogue that I want to play out, or um, uh, just sequencing. Basically, what there's a rhythm there, and I need to make sure that rhythm's good. Do I need to say something right here in order to add to that rhythm that's created by the movie and the clips that I want to show and what I'm saying? And so then I go back and I make changes to the script, and then I have a new voiceover and I lay that down, and I've already got a bunch of footage now because I've already got a conception of how I want things to go. But it's not one step then the next step then the next step, and I can't just like write a script, send it to somebody, and just they'll know what to do with it, because I'm thinking about every stage at every stage. And so yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It reminds me of there's an author I really, really love. His name's Craig Mott, and he actually just put out a book with Random House this month called Things Become Other Things. And the very short of a long story of how this book came to be was Craig did a walk in Japan, and during that walk, he wrote what he calls a pop-up newsletter. So every day he'd write about the walk he did, like what happened that day, and send it out to people. And so after a month of walking, he had X amount of words and letters, and then from that, he like cut everything up, laid it all out on his floor, and was like, I like these, and reordered the book. And there was like that version of the book. And then that happened again with the Random House edition. And basically he wrote the thing, right? Or the ideas of the thing, and then laid it all out and moved things around and like, well, how's the flow here? And so on and so forth. And I'm super condensing his process, right? But you talking about like, I record this scratch, and then I'm laying some stuff over the top of it, and I get a feel of the flow and the pace and all the other things that you can't possibly know until you're editing it with footage, and that goes for anything. And then given the fact that we are just reusing someone else's footage, where it's not like a movie or a show where we'd have to go reshoot something or have people come in and do dubs over lines or things like that. This is economical in the essayist sense. You can then go rewrite the script, re-record it, and then put that back and edit. So I like this. I like the sound of this process. You're getting a much better overall feel of it. You're bringing all of the pieces in together at once, or like you said, hybrid.
Yeah, and over time, you do develop intuitions, or you gain a better understanding of your own, just of what works. Like I would say less and less. I have to go through that stage in order to get something, because I'll have done it enough times in enough ways to be like, okay, I have a feeling that if I want to show this clip, I need to set it up in this way or whatever, or I need to time out my voiceover like just enough to fit inside this, because I've done it before and I know how it's going to be. But yeah, I mean it's a process, and everything gets faster, and I think great filmmakers, I mean, like you're saying, yeah, it's way less economical to do anything remotely like this in the filmmaking space, because you want to make sure your script is the way you want it when you shoot it, so you don't have to go back. But as a filmmaker too, you get a better handle on that stuff, so that those mistakes don't get made or whatever. Of course, if it's a big studio thing and there's just too many chefs in the kitchen, it's a different story. But yeah, so it really depends on the video, and the more experimental the video is, the more I have to do that. My Lord of the Rings video that just came out, I'd never really done anything like that before, where I just, well, I guess my previous crying video, this was a crying video, a movie that makes me cry.
I do, by the way, I love this little series you're doing.
It gives me an excuse to talk about movies I wouldn't otherwise have anything to say.
Hey,
about, so.
I just rewatched the trilogy for the first time in quite a few years. Now this took me a lot longer than normal because of a 2-year-old, and it's hard to find 4 hours of time. But
yeah.
Return of the King, I remember I was texting my wife. I think I said something like, how many times have you cried today? Because I'm up to 5. So
totally. No, they showed at my local theater last year, all 3 of them, back to back, not in one day, but day by day. The extended versions, which of course I've never seen in the theater because they're the extended editions. Now the theatrical editions, and I wrote down every single time I cried. Like I have it written down. Literally all the points, and it was a lot. It was like
there are tears on the paper.
Yeah, tears on the paper.
I saw the extended editions in theaters before The Hobbit came out. They did all in one day, all 3 of them.
That's like 12
and
hours.
I took a buddy for his birthday, and we were at the theater for I think about 14 hours.
Because you have to sit through all the credits.
Yeah, you sit through the credits, and they had, I think, 30-minute or 40-minute intermissions between each movie.
Right.
Or, so that's only 2 intermissions, but you gotta eat. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done, but I will never do it again. The closest, I guess, anyone could have done, I think when Endgame came out, Marvel did a thing where it was like 3 days. It was like every MCU movie. I remember that being an event, but just like the only people that could theoretically do that are people who have the PTO, if they're an adult, college students who don't care, or old teenagers whose parents also don't care. I don't know. That's something I would have done when I was much younger, but couldn't even fathom doing as an adult.
No.
That's too much. That's too much.
That's a lot.
DMCA.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing I would be the most scared of. Just having ad revenue just shut off because a robot said, we own this, which they may not own. They may own it. That's quite possible. Or they probably don't. I don't know. And then also the fact that you're using this in a fair use type of sense. You are no stranger to DMCA takedowns. Your Charlie Chaplin video that came out not too long ago is the 4-time copyright appeal winning video.
Yes.
Star
Record
Wars.
breaking.
Yeah, things go wrong. I just watched a video on The Last of Us Season 2. And the way that the channel decided to represent it was to show gameplay footage, because video games don't get that type of takedown usually. And then when they did show footage from the show, it was in a like smaller box. The opacity was down, and it was like red tinted. So like as a human, you could understand like, well, this is supposed to look like an HBO show, like whatever. But the robots, I guess, can't flag it, or it's much more difficult. Now you don't do that for obvious reasons. I'm very curious, I guess, your thoughts, your feelings, because this threatens the livelihood aspect of your work. But then also, you've talked about, like, you've learned a lot about how it works. Mm-hmm. It's like your Star Wars video that just came back out. I'm curious what you mean by those types of things. Like, you have plans, you've learned things. Like, how do you do the dance with the DMCA?
Yeah. We talked a bit earlier about, the idea that talking about art can in its own form be art. And these videos are a creative outlet for me, and it's where I get the joy from doing them. And because of that, it's very, very important to me that these videos are exactly the way I want them to be without compromising anything. And that means, using high quality source material, not manipulating the video like that in order to avoid something, not compromising the fidelity of what I'm doing. I want the videos to look good. And I also want to show what I want to show. Not just want to, but why talk about something if you can't talk about it? You don't go to film school and have all the professors just say, this is what's happening in this movie, and this is why it's good. They show it. It's a huge component of learning. And so for a while, I was of the avoidant nature, or that was my strategy. I am going to avoid these copyright claims as much as possible. I am going to do whatever I can within the limitations that I think are there to avoid them, which was essentially a single clip. Okay, I just want to mention, like, The Last of Us, for example. TV is not often claimed. it's harder to I don't know, the masters that those copyright claims get checked against. I don't think a lot of shows, because there's so many shows, maybe The Last of Us because it's so big, so many shows and they're so long, they don't seem to be in that database the way movies are. I've never had a problem with a show, and I've talked to a lot of people who focus on shows on their channels. Anyway, the point is, it's not as strict as a lot of videos suggest in the way that they go about editing. You can use a lot more than you think you can and still get through these copyright claims, at least the automatic claims that happen when you first upload. If a clip is not too long and it is followed by a clip that is at a different point in the movie, you're good. Like, if you don't use too much of the film as a whole and each individual segment is not too long, you can make a whole, 10-minute video essay that's 100% clips from the movie, and get away with it. Get away with it, get
I know
past
what you
the
mean.
claim.
Yes, not yes,
Right.
Fools you, Hollywood.
Now, you do. Music is more strict. Score, really, really difficult. The amount you can use is much less than an actual clip. But yeah, so for a while it was like, okay, if a clip is under 14 seconds, I'm usually good. It's usually fine. I if there is music in a clip, I either won't use that clip or I will, I'll strip out the music. If you use versions of the movie that have 5.1 sound, usually dialogue is kept to a single track, and that at least makes it a little bit easier to not use film music, and then also not have that film music clash with music you want to use. A lot of times there's still remnant music in those dialogue tracks, but at least they're quieter and they're easier to get rid of at that point. So anyway, that's what I was doing, and sometimes I got unlucky and I got claimed, and sometimes those claims would be manual claims weeks after or months after the video comes out. And that sucked. And I thought, crap, what do I do? Like, that video is just done. It's not making money. And I just hated that I was editing around that. Because sometimes I would upload, it would get an automatic claim, and I'd be like, oh, God, now I have to go back to the edit and change stuff and try again. And I would spend a whole day just uploading, seeing if it got claimed, going back, changing, uploading, seeing if it got claimed. It would take so much time. Sometimes I wasn't even successful, and I was just like butchering my own stuff. And on top of that, I came up with these weird strategies. I have a Rocky video, like the whole video would get claimed, but then when I cut the video in half and uploaded it in 2 halves, it was fine. It's just nonsense. Like, I was playing the game, and I didn't want to play the game anymore because it was just annoying. I want to make the video the way I want to make it. And lately, my videos, I would not be able to do that. Like, with the crying videos especially, like, in order to actually make the viewer experience these scenes that within the context of the full movie will make you cry, you have to show that clip, and that's usually gonna take more than 15 seconds to make you cry, or else the video doesn't work. So if there's anyone listening who's worried about this stuff or deals with this stuff or is afraid of this stuff, don't be. The fact is that if you make content that is educational or commentary or fair use in some way, and that is, you really believe that that's true, and you're not just trying to make money off of showing scenes from a movie, don't be afraid. You will get claimed. You can fight it, and the system in place for fighting it is actually okay. It's pretty fair. It sucks that you have to go through it, but it's just part of the process now. Rather than it being part of the editing process, it is now just part of the post-launch process. If I get claimed, I fight it. They reject my dispute, and then I appeal their rejection, and I win because I'm in the right, and
Right.
it works.
The system itself just feels so icky.
It's there to scare you.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. I have a channel that's just dedicated to uploading like raw gameplay footage just for other people to use to make essays or what have you. I have so much stinking footage, on this insane high quality. Like I gotta do something with it. And I remember I had some footage of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes for the Nintendo GameCube. And I was getting copyright like strikes on it. Not from Nintendo, but from some DJ. I was like, that doesn't sound right. And I went, and this person had just taken Nintendo's music and said it was their own music. And I was like, well, I got to fight this. Not because I own the music, but because this person doesn't own the music. And that was an interesting process, but interesting in the sense that I even had to do it. Because all I did was submit the claim, and obviously that person didn't respond. And so within 30 days, everything was flip-flopped back around. But I guess, does this then... clearly know the theme of the episode. Does this further lean into the Runway? If you have to fight, Charlie Chaplin, how long did that take to be like YouTube approved, as it were?
So, I mean, I've gotten so many claims that they all kind of mishmash together. That one was a record. I think it was. I once the claims are dealt with, I can't see them anymore, so I can't remember. But it was like,
Sure.
There was one for one speech. There was one for the other speech. Like the speeches themselves from that movie were copyright like material, which was not a lie. Like those are very, very famous speeches, and people like to use them in media. One of my favorite songs of all time is called "Iron Sky" by Paolo Nutini, and partway through the song, one of those speeches is used in the song. And it's super cool, and it makes the song really great. But, you can't just use that for nothing. You have to get the right to it. So they know that it's like very desirable in other media, and so it's controlled. Anyway, so there are all these things, and I had to dispute every one of them, and some of them were, I think I mentioned this, but like just global blocks. The video just wasn't visible. Now, today, so on the topic of Runway, so I've gotten into the habit of, I've gotten several weeks ahead in my schedule so that I complete a video weeks before it comes out on YouTube. So with my Lord of the Rings video that I just came out with, on Aragorn and crying. I knew that was gonna get claimed. Like, I'd never done Lord of the Rings before for this reason, and I know a lot of other people who have and who have dealt with this stuff, and so I was like, God, okay, I'm gonna deal with it. So I finished it like a month ago, and I uploaded it. It got 3 claims, one for each movie, and I was like, okay, all right, that's what I expected to happen. And so I think because claims are different from strikes. Claims don't hurt you except that you don't get money, which is painful. Strikes
It's a different
actually,
kind of hurt.
different kind of hurt. Strikes actually go against your channel though, and I've never gotten a strike, but 3 strikes, very bad. So because I had 3 claims on this video and I didn't know how malicious they were gonna be, or New Line, or whoever it was gonna be, I didn't want to like challenge them all at the same time, you know, um, just in case I get three strikes in one go. Um, so
Fair.
anyway, it took a long time to now the initial dispute. You can't get a strike on that. You get one chance to be like, hey, this is fair use. I'm right. And they will almost always reject you because they want to scare you. You know, they have every right within the system. I mean, they shouldn't have this right, but they have every right within the system to just say, no, no, we're right. It's ours. Um, they get to decide for themselves. Like, it's totally dumb. And if they do that, the claim remains, but they can't strike you at that stage, and then you appeal. And the appeal process is even scarier looking. And you can get a strike, but you probably won't. And it'll either expire or they will release it. And so with all three of the claims on this Lord of the Rings video, I disputed, and then each one got the rejection, and I had to appeal. And every appeal actually got like manually released within a day or two, which was really unusual. Usually, I have to wait for the 7 days for the appeal process. It's 7 days. The initial thing, it's 30. Usually, I have to wait for those 7 days to expire before the claim gets released. But for whatever reason, they looked at my appeal and were like, yeah, we're wrong, and manually released it. So the process actually didn't take too long. So I was feeling really good going in because it's like double jeopardy. I mean, if you appeal it and you win, you're good on whatever that claim was. Today, that video got another claim. And I was like, how can this be? I've gotten one for every movie, and I've dealt with them. It was a random 10 seconds from one section. I think it was a dialogue clip I had used from the Council of Elrond in Fellowship.
Sure.
I think it's when Legolas says to Aragorn, or no, Legolas says to Boromir, this is no mere ranger, this is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, you owe him your allegiance. And I think underneath that line is like Sauron's theme song or something, because they're all talking about it. And when Gimli tries to break with his axe, you get a flash of the eye and all that stuff. So it's like there and lingering. I didn't realize that. Like, I wasn't, it's like I was only focused on the line. I was using it for the line. I even probably lowered any background volume on that line as best I could so that I could play music. And yeah, so they claim those 10 seconds. And now I'm dealing with that.
I'm sorry about that. That sucks. I think that leads into this like other part of the equation, this haven, it seems like, that is Nebula, which if you watch any essayist of a certain caliber on YouTube, odds are you've heard of Nebula, either as an ad read or just them saying they're on Nebula, which is a creator like found and run video platform where your videos get to go and basically not live under the fear of the eye of DMCA, scouring over Mordor, as it were. You just got on Nebula in December, if the YouTube post is accurate, which obviously would be. You made it. So it's only been 6 months. How did it feel, A, I guess, to get invited, because it is invite only? And B, how has that been for you as a creative, where you've been able to make the cut you want to make and at least have a place for it to go and not have to worry about this?
Nebula is a wonderful space. the reason you don't have to deal with this stuff is because ads are not run, and ads are the problem. Um, you know, because I still have to think about YouTube, and it's the same video on both platforms. Like, I don't exactly feel liberated in that sense. It is nice that there's a place where I don't have to worry, but I still have to worry because of YouTube, and so for every video, I have to go through this process. But if I could be on Nebula only, and have it be, get everything that I get from being on both and only be on Nebula, that would be wonderful. That would be absolutely wonderful. It's just such a better space for viewers and for creators. So it's great in that sense. As you say, it's only been 6 months. I'm not, I'm not making a lot on Nebula, except as a partner, on YouTube videos, ad reads, and bringing people over. A lot of creators stop relying on ad revenue at some point. At least they have other revenue streams that really take over, and I don't know. That's never been true for me because I've been really lucky in getting a lot of views, and so I've always needed that viewership to be part of the revenue stream. And with Nebula, it's a smaller group of people. You do get view-based revenue through it, through a share. But yeah, I'm still so new to it. My audience there is still small, and the audience as a whole is a lot smaller. So, it's well, it's not an alternative, and it's not meant to be an alternative. It's very explicitly not an alternative to YouTube. It's very much its own space, but it won't replace YouTube for a viewer, and it won't replace it as a creator either. But it's super wonderful that it exists, and I want everybody to come on there. And I'm not just saying that as a partner. Like, it's just so much more pleasant.
Yeah, it seems that way. And everyone that I know who's on Nebula only has, nice things to say about the whole experience. I think it's the right idea for this type of video. Like, you get to make and say what you want to say and not have to worry about the consequences of, like you said, ads are the problem. It's these huge corporations and things. But the inverse of that is you need that revenue for sustainment. It's like they each need each other, I don't know.
Yeah, well, ads are funny that way because people talk about, oh, I wish there were fewer ads, and I hate all these ads and unskippable and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, on principle, me too, but also that's how I get money. Like, I hate needing that, but it benefits me. It benefits the makers of those ads and those products, but it is also what makes money for the creator. So
I haven't seen an ad on YouTube in I don't know how many years, and it's not because I'm running an ad blocker or anything like that. I pay for YouTube Premium because I don't want to see the ads. And I don't know what the rate or however it works is, but it is my understanding that some of my premium subscription goes to the viewers of what I'm watching.
My understanding is that if everybody had premium, it would be better for everybody. That the creators would make more if it were 100% premium.
Everyone sign up for YouTube Premium because it truly is the best.
I don't even have it. It's so expensive.
Well, okay, do this. Have a family plan and split it with your dad because he watches so much YouTube. So do that, everybody. That's what I do. We have a family plan, and it happens to work out when you split it. But I don't even know how much it costs. I think
YouTube should give creators a free YouTube Premium when they are professional YouTubers.
When they're professionals, they should get it for free.
Yeah, I guess it's a little backwards.
Makes sense. I like it. Well, I think that does it, Danny. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I've learned so much just in general, talking and ways of thinking about things I have never thought about stuff before like that. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. Everyone go check out CinemaStix, not Cinnamon Sticks, not not Pennyvoxel, not Filmcraft, CinemaStix. Go check them out on YouTube at CinemaStix everywhere. YouTube, Patreon, Nebula. The newsletter is cinemastix.kit.com. You can go sign up for that, which is going to have more good nuggets, I'm sure, in the future as it gets sent out. If you would like to see links to anything that we spoke about, you can check out the show notes in your podcast player or head over to maxfrequency.net/MFP-47. Everything, including all of those links, will be there for you to go check out and sign up. You can head over to the blog, read anything, and get ready to listen to Chapter Select Season 7. It's going to come out eventually here when Metroid Prime 4 finally gets a date. Miyamoto willing, we'll find out. But until next time, everybody, adios.